If you've ever started seedlings indoors and you've noticed that sometimes they flop over and die, it might not have anything to do with the way you're watering. It could actually be the soil that you're using. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how I make a homemade seed starting mix using something called Coco Coir to make sure that I give my plants the best possible start this fall season. I'm going to show you exactly how I mix it, why it's better than the store-bought stuff, and how you can maintain your plants while you're using this Coco Coir. So what exactly is Coco Coir? Coco Coir is basically the husk of a coconut, except it's been dried and dehydrated for garden use. The other thing I'm going to be using to make this mix is called Perlite. This is pretty much something that's going to give some structure to the seed starting mix, some aeration, proper drainage, and make sure that the soil doesn't compact. By now, I'm sure a lot of you are asking the same question. Where is the soil, like the regular garden soil, in this mixture? And the answer is there ain't none. With Coco Coir, it's really light, so your plants aren't going to struggle to break through to the surface. They're going to just shoot straight up, right? So that's the main benefit. The other benefit is that Coco Coir is basically sterile. You're not going to be getting any hidden weeds or any fungi that might lead to plant disease, but more on that later. The first step in making this mix is to rehydrate the Coco Coir. So when I opened this package, I took out about 7 discs. And I would recommend using a really big plastic tub if you have one, and then just laying your discs into the tub. For every disc that you use, you're going to add 1.5 cups of water. Since I'm going to use 7 discs, 7 times 1.5, that's about 10 cups of water. So I got a big jug of water and I poured it over my discs directly, and pretty much as you can see, this stuff starts hydrating immediately on impact. It says that you're gonna have to wait like 5 to 10 minutes for this to rehydrate, but in my personal experience, it only took about 3 minutes. I mean, after all, this does say minute soil. So, I mean, I guess it may depend. For the next step, I put on some gloves and I just slowly started breaking up the Coco Coir to where it started crumbling, just like the garden soil that we're used to using. I really took my time with this just to make sure that there were no dehydrated pieces. I wanted everything to be moist, light, airy. So I probably took about 5 minutes just kind of raking through this with my fingers. The very next step is to add perlite to the mixture. Now, before you start doing this, a word of caution, this perlite that I got from True Leaf Market is really dusty. It really picks up in the wind. I would definitely recommend putting on a mask before you do this. So that's exactly what I did. You basically want to have 1 part perlite to 7 parts Coco Coir. Like I said before, I used about 7 discs of the Coco Coir, which yields about 28 cups. So for me personally, I needed to add 4 cups of perlite to my Coco Coir. I worked the perlite into the mixture, making sure it was mixed in really good. After I made my seed starting mix, I was ready to plant. I went ahead and I grabbed my trays and I just started filling them up with the seed starting mix. The only thing that I'm planting right now is some broccoli and some collard greens. So I went ahead and I planted those in my trays and called it a day. Okay, now before you go, let me circle back to some things that I didn't mention before. Like I said before, Coco Coir is sterile, which means it doesn't have any macronutrients, especially the macronutrients that your plants are gonna need, the nitrogen, the phosphorus, or the potassium, right? So as soon as you get your first true leaf on your seedlings, that's when you're gonna need to come in with a very gentle fertilizer and add that NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, back into your seedlings. What I'm personally going to be using is called Neptune's Harvest. It's a fish and seaweed fertilizer, and this is a 2-3-1 fertilizer, so it's 2% nitrogen, 3% phosphorus, and 1% potassium. But even with it being that gentle, I'm going to use it at half strength, right? When I start to see those first true leaves, I'm going to use it once a week. Once my seedlings get a little bigger and they have maybe 4 to 5 true leaves, I'm gonna transfer those to something bigger like a red solo cup, and at that point I cannot keep using Coco Coir. I'm actually gonna need to give these seedlings some real nutrition, so I'm going to use regular potting mix, mixed with a little compost to make sure that now I'm really prioritizing that early growth. The second thing to know is that by using Coco Coir instead of going out and buying a commercial mix, you can control exactly what is going into your seed starting mix. Not only that, you are actually saving the environment by doing this. When you go out and you buy a commercial mix, it might be filled with something called peat moss, which is something that's been used in the garden world for a long time, but it's basically a non-renewable resource because it takes centuries for the earth to actually reproduce this. We produce coconuts every year, and the husk of the coconut that is used for this seed mix would otherwise just get thrown away. If you're using this, just know you are doing some good in the world. The third thing to know is that it is very cheap to do this on your own and have a homemade seed starting mix. I got all of these materials from True Leaf Market and they came in a package for $8.99. So that means I got the Coco Coir roll. I also got the Perlite that comes with it, which I filled up 48 cells in a seed starting tray, which is pretty good, right? If you're looking for a cost-effective way to make sure you're doing something sustainable, controlling what's actually in your mix, and saving money, definitely go down to the description box. I have a link to this actual package for $8.99 where you can get the Coir and the Perlite and save yourself some time and money. But until then, and until next time, happy gardening.